Hello, everyone. This is the Running Channel podcast. Now, are we in a running boom? Because it certainly feels like we are. Do you two agree?
Well, Sarah accuses me of being a boomer. I'm genuinely not as old as that. But things have massively changed. Like, I didn't have to deal with social media. Like, just the stuff that we're going to talk about today, it's unrecognisable compared to how I grew up in running, definitely. I don't think I'd make it as a running influencer, not like Sarah.
Well, don't hate me because you hate me. I'm joking. Yeah, you're still very much putting on 2012 filters on your Instagram, which is probably why your follower count isn't quite growing as you would like it to.
That and because I don't post.
I was going to say, that was the last time he did post.
Yeah, that was the last time. A homage to 2012. What an era. We're going to be talking all about this, maybe comparing Andy's youth to my present day.
To your actual youth.
Yeah,
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks.
But also, we're going to be discussing really exciting news from Femke Boll, a huge announcement and what this means for Keely Hodgkinson, plus answering your questions. So let's get into it.
Everyone's been to many places since we last met up.
I know. Yeah, so we did the mini series, which hopefully you all listened to and enjoyed. We all went to different places to do that, which was very exciting.
Yeah, it was a little celebration of World Mental Health Day. Each of our own kind of escapes to what would we do if we had the choice. So Rick's obviously involved a hot tub. Mine involved running on the trails. And Sarah's involved the dog, which
Despite the weather, I had such a good time.
It was so fun. So we crammed it all into one day and each went to each other's places. The hot tub was very much a nice like zen moment within the day after you two being dragged along by Herbert out for a run.
Definitely one of the weirdest moments on the Running Channel podcast as well.
I thought it was less weird than I was expecting it
I think we built it up.
It was less weird, yeah. So maybe we should just do episodes from the hot tub. Yeah.
And then Andy and I went up to Manchester and we did this amazing run club last week. We had about 200 runners with us.
Really? And we just running around the centre of Manchester?
Yeah, so normally when we organise a Running Channel run club, you get a few who drop out every now and again. You know, nobody dropped out this time.
Really? Oh, that's nice. Well done, Manchester.
Before they even come, because we definitely wait for everybody on the run, don't we?
Yeah, it was such a good event. We were in Manchester, early October, evening, 18 degrees, boiling.
It was hot, and Rick was a little bit offended, I think, because I turned around to him. I was leading at the front, so I was in charge of the route, which is risky, obviously.
Very risky.
Not as risky as
Did you have navigation on your watch?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Wow,
Well,
look at that.
I didn't.
No, but I turned around. I'd only been back at the finish point for 30 seconds or so, and I turned around and Rick was there. And I looked at him and had this same tone of surprise in my voice. And Rick was like, "What do you mean? Why are you surprised?"
I kept up the whole way.
Yeah, I think he took a shortcut across a different bridge on the way home.
Yeah, whilst you guys were in Manchester, I was in the Isle of Wight, on the Isle of Wight, running round the Isle of Wight. There was a team of 5. It was me, Jess, Mark, Ashley and Tom. And in one day, I'm not going to give away how long it took because you'll have to watch the video to find out. We ran round it as a relay race and honestly got, again, October, best weather I have ever had on a shoot. Yeah. It was beautiful. We got like such an amazing sunset. Not going to lie though, I thought islands were flatter.
Oh, it's a bit hilly.
Really hilly.
Did you get around the Needles? You got to the Needles?
Yeah, Mark did that section and then he handed over to me and my pacing of each run looks unhinged because it was not flat at all. So we were each doing anywhere between kind of 5 and 11k per leg of the relay, and pacing could be anywhere between 350 per kilometre if you were just hurtling yourself down a grassy bank, all the way up to 8, 9, 10 minutes per kilometre if you were climbing a hill.
It's a fascinating place, the Isle of Wight. It's where Queen Victoria spent most of her life after Prince Albert died.
Oh, really?
On the south coast.
You know what? I can see why.
I didn't know that,
it is beautiful.
but it doesn't surprise me that you know that.
What a random fact.
It's also got 2 MPs.
Also beautiful to run around. Like if you love your trail running, get yourself to the Isle of Wight and run. You don't have to go the whole way around. It's like 70 miles. I would just say, having seen most of the way round, I would say the south coast of the Isle of Wight, west to east or left to right, depending on what you believe in.
How many miles did you have to run in the time that you were there? Because you're doing it in sort of relay, so you're leapfrogging each other.
Yeah, I did 25 kilometres. So what's that, 14-ish miles? 50?
Yeah, 15, just over 15 miles, I think. Yeah. So that is impressive. And I'm looking at my watch now to check the dates, less than 2 weeks away from a pretty epic.
From the world's deepest marathon yet. So I've been...
It's not like philosophically deep. This is 1,100 meters underground.
Like in a mine in Sweden deep. Yeah, it's been, I'm not going to lie, it's been a bit of a weird training block of I'm not training for a PB. I'm literally just trying to drag my body around. It's been well over a year since I've run a marathon.
Yeah.
So the Isle of Wight, I was like, great, this is an excellent amount of mileage, but it was quite broken up, so I didn't know whether I should count that as my long run, and I wanted to get in one more 30k run just to show myself that I could do it. So that would have been 2 30k runs for the block.
Yeah, that's great.
Not going for a PB, so I thought that'd be fine. So I went out. Jess ran her 36th marathon of the year last week.
Right, just every time I think my training's going well,
I know,
I have a little think about that, and it just makes me cry a little bit.
Yeah,
because
honestly,
I'm so
comparison
pathetic.
is the thief of joy.
It really is in that case. Yeah. Can I talk about an odd experience I had at Parkrun, just very briefly?
Can I talk about myself?
No,
Go on
honestly,
then.
you'll like this.
Can I just say, because that won't make sense. So I ran 33k with Jess. Story over. Back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you smashed it, Sarah. Well done.
Well done, Sarah.
I'm rooting
Really
for you in
proud
your
of you.
marathon.
Very
And I
proud of
ran
you.
it at a pace which would have been a marathon PB, but less about me. Let's go.
Did you
to
really?
you.
I'm your second biggest supporter.
I know. Thank you, mate.
Who's their
Thank
biggest
you.
supporter?
Don't know.
you just know
No,
that there's
can I actually give a shout out to my biggest supporter? So there is a guy called John Hartley, and I don't think we're related, but on Strava, every single time I do a run, he gives such good words of encouragement. So
I
I'm
love
actually
it.
going to say my number one supporter is a guy named John Hartley, who after doesn't matter what the run is, because you know how sometimes if you go and do a long run, everyone's comments are like, "Well done,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah," and then you go out and do your easy run for the week, and everyone's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, you've gone so high that
We're
they're
less
not
impressed
by that. Yeah.
John, doesn't matter.
Love
well
it,
done,
John.
Sarah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
Also,
thanks,
I know
John.
that Rick's coming from a place of like, he's like, well, I can't be better. I can't be any better than your second because of how little I support you. It's like there's got to be someone ahead of me here.
Right, go on, mate. What happened to
No,
Parkrun?
well, I've got a question for you two, actually. So,
Yeah.
when you've been in a race situation or a parkrun situation,
Yeah.
and someone's been an incredibly heavy breather, have you approached them afterwards with words of advice before, or is that taboo?
No, you can't address that.
I don't think if I knew
As in,
them,
if there's someone next to you being like,
The whole way round.
yeah,
No.
if I knew them, yeah, I think I would happily talk to someone about that.
And
But
you
I wouldn't go up to a stranger and say, chill out.
Okay, I did.
"Oh God!" Right, I would like to make a formal apology.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
On behalf of Rick, and if you do have any complaints, email them to rick@therunningchannel.com.
Oh, God, I'm going to have to actually check my
Do you
email.
actually have that email address? Do you?
I haven't checked it for about 3 years.
Heaven forbid to do any work.
So, the whole way round, it
you give us
sounded
a-
like there was a guy who was really struggling behind.
Okay.
And I heard a few people say to him, not what you might expect. You might expect, "Are you okay, mate?"
Yeah.
I heard one person say to him, "Are you still breathing, mate?"
Oh, gosh.
This guy was
Really?
making such a noise. And when I talk about kind of like deep breathing, this wasn't like, oh, he sounded like he needed some help. This guy sounded like Darth Vader after 2 bottles of Chardonnay.
Do we know what Darth Vader after 2 bottles of Chardonnay sounds like?
Very good, Sarah. Very good.
Sarah's doing an impression. Yeah.
Gen Z, still getting it.
What's Darth Vader in Star Wars?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Never watched it.
Don't
Yeah.
look pleased with yourself for knowing that
So-
Darth Vader is in Star Wars.
Look, I have a lot of information to keep from
Yeah.
social media. You wouldn't
Yeah.
understand.
No, I don't.
So I went and saw it. So he followed me the whole way around, and I thought, "There's probably I'll just have a chat with him." He ran 23 minutes, so he's pretty fast. He was a healthy bloke.
Is that the thing that's annoyed you?
No, I just thought I can help this guy.
Did he beat
Right.
you?
Because
Yeah, did you beat you? I really hope you
No, he
beat you.
came in right behind me, so he basically followed me for 5k.
Right. Yeah, and, that was
Andy will
his,
tell- Andy
that
will
was
tell
his
you this.
aim for the race, or
Just
for the run, sorry.
To drive me up the wall. Yeah. So Andy will tell you, I used to be a very heavy breather, and Andy has on many occasions said, "Rick, you need to control your breathing more." In fact, he does it even now when we go out for a run about my breathing. So
Relax your shoulders, control your breathing.
Yeah,
deep
relax
breath.
your shoulders. Try and
Yeah.
try and breathe lower in your chest. I think is usually what
That's
I say
a
to you.
classic,
Exactly.
Andy. Good job, buddy. Just relax.
And
relax
I-
your breathing.
And I
You
remember
all.
this all the way, went the way back to a coach that Andy and I used to have called Dave Wilkes,
Yeah.
who talked about diaphragmatic
Back in all day when we
breathing,
did cross country.
which is
He probably
basically
didn't pronounce the G, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Diaphragmatic?
Diaphragmatic?
Yeah.
Diaphragmatic. Okay, diaphragmatic breathing. So deep breathing through your diaphragm and your belly and not your chest. So I went and spoke to this guy afterwards. His name was Phil.
Oh, hey, Phil.
He enjoyed our conversation.
Hey, Phil, I'm so sorry for what you had to endure. Honestly, if you'd just overtaken Rick, you could have avoided this whole situation.
So Phil then went for a little bit of a jog afterwards, after we talked about this.
You went for a jog with Phil?
Right, just across the field.
Right.
'Cause he honestly, you heard this guy coming, and he started to move his breathing in step with his running. So steps to breathing, a rhythmic pattern.
Yeah.
And then the
Diaphragmatic.
Diaphragmatic. It's quite a tricky word, that.
Yeah.
So what you
Diaphragmatic
do
breathing.
you'd be a good singer if you practice diaphragm.
Diaphragmatic breathing.
Yes, your diaphragm's underneath your lungs effectively. So yeah, if you're using that as a focus for your breathing, that can help.
And what he found by doing that is the noise that was coming from him being incredibly loud on the course was basically chest breathing, hitting the top of his mouth and making a kind of noise.
Yeah.
But when you go and breathe deeper through your diaphragm, the air doesn't come up and hit the top of your mouth. It comes out centrally. So you're breathing basically from your windpipe. It's going straight out, more from the bottom of your mouth rather than hitting the top and making that
So did you
reverberation.
effectively have a coaching intervention here?
Well, I just generally thought I could help because Phil
What's
runs,
happened? How is Rick the person passing on
I've
good
noticed
advice?
Phil basically runs behind me every week.
Yeah.
So I thought I could fix a problem
Rick's-
both for him
Wow.
and for me.
There's there's no
Interventions
such thing as
happening
a
at
selfless
Hellfire
good.
Park.
There's no
Yeah,
such thing as a
there's no
selfless good deed.
There's no such thing as a selfless good deed.
But hang on, but it helps if it helps him.
Yeah.
And it also,
But it also helps you.
It depends where the
it's mutually
motivation came
beneficial.
from.
Well, the motivation, the motivation, I think most people would have just let it go.
Yeah. Or maybe
There
it's
is-
like,
I
is
have
this like
been in
having food in your teeth? It's about being kind enough to say to someone, you're actually helping them out by making them initially feel a bit
I just did that too.
discomfort. They're just checking. You don't have
Hang
food in your
on.
teeth.
Right, okay.
Neither of you have food in your teeth. We had role reversals this weekend, Rick.
Don't have food in my teeth.
Genuine role. And I got some comments on my Strava about this.
Okay.
Because you were, out there saving lives, giving some meaningful coaching interventions.
Diaphragmatic.
Meanwhile,
No
I
G.
completely failed to use my watch appropriately. I'd set up a workout on my watch on Friday to do this workout. It was 1K. No one cares today, but I'm going to tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 kilometers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 kilometers with 2 minutes in between each one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3.
Yeah.
What was the 3 doing?
I just do what I'm told.
Right, fair.
And I set the workout up in my watch, but I was also listening to stuff on my headphones. And I was there was a point in one of my efforts when I was actually supposed to be running hard that I was fiddling with the buttons for the audio and accidentally pressed the lap button. And then I missed the opportunity to cancel the lap. And then I was into my recovery when I still had 3K of that effort to go. So yeah, I just kind of soldiered on and pressed buttons until I basically did the whole rest of my workout in what should have been my warm down.
Right.
Cool down.
So you turned it into a run to feel run.
No, I ran exactly what I was supposed to run in terms of efforts. It just made the timing and distances really complicated because I didn't have my watch just beeping at me telling me to start or stop. So yeah, that was great.
I've had that happen before. It's so irritating.
Yes, it was really irritating. And then rather excitingly, tonight, so I had to reshuffle my week a little bit and I did my long run on a Saturday to give myself a day's recovery on Sunday because me and you are going head to head tonight, aren't we, Sarah?
We are. I'm very excited about this.
I'm less excited about this.
I am fresh.
I'm not. I'm mid-marathon training and I've had 2 of the biggest weeks I've done in the last 5 years.
Yeah. And we're going head to head, 10K.
Yeah.
I've got backup though. So
a
it's
twist,
me, Mark, Jess, and Tom. Our strategy.
I
Golden.
don't know what your strategy is yet.
Honestly, our strategy is so good. So we're using the kick and run treadmill where you can basically move to the back of the treadmill to make it slow down and stop.
Yeah.
Then the next person will hop on.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile, I'm just in a war of attrition next to you guys on my own.
and Andy
10K.
will just be, yes, we've got 2 treadmills next to each other. You will be plugging away. We will be racing our little socks off and hopefully we'll beat him and then hold it over for him.
Are you doing this in
forever.
the office?
No, we're doing it at the Run Limited store in Baker Street.
Oh, well.
Yeah. It's very exciting.
And we're doing it. I feel like it's going to be quite exciting because I love parts of what we do is we get to go to places after they're closed or like when they're not quite open. So we get to go. One of the things I love doing is being in a shop when it's closed.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's like being on Taskmaster, when they're in like an airport or a or sort of hotel or something and no one's there.
We did the podcast live from the Garmin store in Southampton.
Yeah.
And we got to walk through the shopping centre when it was closed.
Oh, that's eerie, isn't it?
Oh, it was
I felt like it was in a horror
fun.
movie.
Yeah, but did you not have the thought of, I just wanted to like do a run round it?
Yeah, weirdly, I did actually.
I know what you mean.
This would be fun.
Yeah.
Just to race from one side to the other with no people there.
Yeah.
Right, shall we talk about the running boom?
Yeah, and is this influenced by the different generations? Is it influenced by technology?
Yeah.
Is there something that's caught people's imaginations? Is it because, running events took a real hit during the pandemic, and then actually it took ages to bounce back to the point where some people thought they might not come back, and a lot of smaller event companies went under because they couldn't survive.
I think running's booming in a different way now. Like, do people still value events in the same way? I feel like I've definitely been a boomer in being like swept
As
up.
part of the running boom.
Yeah,
as opposed to like me and an actual boomer from the 50s.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, to start off with, as someone who has lived through almost running from its inception to now.
Yeah, pretty much since the ancient Greeks.
Yeah, some say Andy was stood clapping as they ran Frot 2 marathon.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we get to wear clothes now.
You've had to put your teeny tiny leaf back in the drawer.
Hey.
Right, so would you say that running is
Got no comebacks.
running is the biggest it's ever been in your time?
So
in
I
your
just like
life?
the analogy of putting a leaf back in the drawer, like from whence it came. Like it came from a drawer, not from a tree. Sorry, what was the question?
Do you think, I just derailed with Greek mythology now. Do you think running is the biggest it's ever been?
In my lifetime, yes. So I say that I was born in the early 80s, and running was huge in the 80s.
hundreds.
Oh, brilliant. In the black and white era. No, running was huge in the 80s. By all accounts, there was, actual elite level track and field was massive. So if Seb Coe, Steve Ovett, Peter Elliott, Steve Cram, if they were breaking world records, particularly in the mile and the 1500 meters, which really seemed to have captivated people's imaginations in the 80s, they would interrupt the news or like the programming on the BBC or something to say, oh, breaking news we've got from Oslo or whatever. The London Marathon started in the early 80s, and that was this huge thing. And there's lots of these old archive footage of like the jogging boom, it was described as in the 80s. And then I think it declined in the 2000s compared to that time. Yeah. And then now in the 2020s, I think it's hard for me to compare it directly to the 80s, but the numbers are crazy. So then things like the Boston Marathon had been going for years, but London and these other big city marathons weren't anywhere near as big as they are now. And so the idea of having, 1.1 million people ballot for the London Marathon in 2026.
It's also interesting considering, so Sydney got added as a marathon major this year officially, and it was its first year as a major. Mark went out and ran that race, and in a Mark way got very nerdy about the whole thing. And the growth of, I had assumed that if a marathon was about to become a major, it's because it was huge, and so it was kind of just like sticking a label on something. But the growth of numbers from, I think this year it was into the tens of thousands, and the previous year it hadn't even hit 10,000. Obviously you need a certain amount of like funding and backing to be able to grow it to that size, but it shows that the demand is there to grow that quickly.
And they're Sydney are fortunate, they had this iconic course. So Mark's described that as like the best finish to a marathon he's ever been at, in front of the Opera House in Sydney and stuff like that.
And he's run many a marathon.
Yeah.
I think we are in the biggest boom there's ever been. And I think Andy just mentioned that stat there from the London Marathon that, 1.1 million people have applied to be in next year's. But you've got to look at other stuff, people not running marathons. The running market, in the UK is worth 2.5 billion now. That's people basically buying kit. And then Parkrun, look at the explosion of Parkrun, 450,000 people every week now.
They started with 13 in 2004 when it was called the Bush. And here's an interesting thing, because people often get, Parkrun very clearly not a race. It's a run, go and benchmark yourself against yourself or just enjoy it. But it started as a time trial. It was called Bushy Park Time Trial. So it was BPTT, was what it was called to start with.
Do you think...
And then it kind of evolved into what Parkrun is now.
Do you think, though, would you put time trial and race in the same breath or in the same
That's a good point,
definition?
actually. So yeah, I suppose it is technically still a time trial, as in because you are timed.
Yeah.
And a time
Yeah.
trial by definition is you against yourself on the clock.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's
Because
true.
I would quite often, I would say like, but then not everyone, I mean, both of them, there's so, what a time trial means to someone and what a race means to someone is so vast. Like you could race a race at party pace, or you could race a race.
I love party pace. That's a good idea.
Me too.
Yeah.
I would actively, I'd strive to run many, all,
I don't think I
things
do anything at party pace. But I think Rick lives his life at party pace.
Yeah, Rick is party pace.
Except for the running bit where I just run as hard as I can until I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, parkrun, absolutely huge. But I think parkrun bridges what I would say is the other side of running that is booming. I've met so many people this year through lots of different races who are racing still for the first time. And actually what a lot of people are doing to get into running now is joining run clubs or run crews or run groups. And it's, I think a huge thing that people love from running is that sense of community and connection, which isn't like going out and drinking culture.
Yes.
I think like the world is actively like trying to be a bit healthier. And
You've got Friday Night Lights, which is sort of that party. That's definitely party pace.
Midnight
by definition.
runners,
Yeah.
where again it's not, you know, I think there's such a divide between like running training, which I think is also booming right now, but equally social running, where it is like people say that running clubs are the new dating apps, or that's how, like, I moved to a brand new area and I've made all of my friends in that area.
All of them?
Through running. Yeah, I haven't made that many yet.
Aren't you
Give me
mates with
time.
the guy in the corner shop though, because it's so close?
Oh yeah, apart from that.
That guy, yeah.
But that's kind of through running too, because every time I finish a run, I go buy strawberry milk from that guy.
I think this is going to be different for you now that you're out in the sticks a bit more, and the age demographic will be different of your running club to perhaps like a running crew or club in London that's built around that kind of socialization side of things.
Yeah.
But you're from Generation Z, aren't you?
I am. Rick really heavily Googled this because I was like, I'm Gen Z. And Rick was like, Are you? And I've scraped in by 9 months.
And I'm a millennial. I'm at the oldest end of the millennial group, born in the early 80s.
Yeah, and Rick is Gen T, which is Gen Timeless.
Timeless. Yeah, exactly.
That's very good.
So I've got a question for you, Sarah, which could answer what generation you sit in.
Yeah.
If I say 6'7" to you, do you know what that is?
Yes, because I watched a TikTok on this morning.
Oh, there we go then. Okay.
I didn't watch the full thing though because it was between 6 and 7 minutes, so I'm still not quite sure what it is.
Yeah, my kids have started saying it all of the time, and I'll say to them, "What does it mean?" And they're like, "No idea." And then I googled it, and the point of it means nothing. So it's like a meaningless phrase that just it's nonsense.
6'7"?
Yeah, I can't remember where it came from, but.
If you're a teacher in a school right now and you tell people to turn to page 67 of their textbooks, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
That must be a horrible time. Right, kids, we're skipping over that.
They just shout at me. I'm like, turn the TV off. Like, it's time for bed or like whatever it is. And then they're like, 6'7"? Oh, what are we talking about?
Oh,
do you think this whole running boom, though, is just a bit of a coincidence because everything all happened at the same time? We had COVID where you couldn't do team sports.
So you had to run.
So the one way you could get a bit of exercise to get out was something you could do on your own, which is running. Then you had that Gen Z kind of drop in drinking culture. And then you had social nights, influencers coming on the scene, and it all just happened at the same time.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I do think influencers particularly is really interesting because there are a vast number of influencers who have risen to fame for a vast number of different reasons, but actually one thing that connects loads of influencers together is running. And they could be famous for cooking or DIY, or they're a chef, or like there are so many different things, and then suddenly they're like, oh, or Harry Styles training for a marathon though.
Yeah, I now only get dressed with my back to my phone camera. That's exactly how I get dressed every morning.
Really, with your sports bra on backwards?
Yeah.
You know, people don't do that anymore. That's how.
Is that not a thing anymore?
It's not a thing anymore, mate.
How far from social media you are.
There we go.
They were doing that about 6 months ago, so you're not that far away.
Oh, see, that's how fast it changes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're supposed to.
What did you think of influencers as a whole? Do you think they're useful to running?
Well, like, we've got to be self-aware enough to realise that we're in that category in terms of like, we're making a podcast here talking about running. you two have active Instagram accounts and you talk about running and you talk about your other jobs as well. And I guess it's just how you go about doing it. And in the same way as I think Gen Z is much maligned, like there's loads of chat about Gen Z in the workplace and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, some of the stuff we're talking about here, like living a healthier life, getting out and doing running because you don't want to socialize through drinking, those are all like pretty positive things. And also there are ways of encouraging people through your platforms because you happen to have done stuff in a cool way and have a great personality on camera, which can be really massively positive as well.
I think a big reason that running's grown is because marketing has grown. Like if you think of like how people were marketed to run or to exercise in the 80s was through very limited sources. It was word of mouth. It might have been a fitness DVD. It might have been billboards. Like it was, you kind of had to seek it out. Whereas now most people are carrying a phone around in their pocket where they could be following 10 different people who are training for 10 different things. I think the power of influencer marketing is great, potentially also very dangerous because you're not necessarily following like a running coach. You're following someone whose lifestyle you aspire to. And I think that's something that we all need to be aware of because like who in themselves has made perfect decisions throughout the entirety of their life.
Yeah, and I think that's why if we like, I've probably spent the last 25 years just messing running up, like just doing a whole bunch of stuff wrong and not getting it right, obviously, because it's wrong. Brilliant. This is profound, isn't it?
I don't know where he's going with this.
Another example of how we're not all perfect.
Yeah, let's leave that in the edit. I think that's the key is not, like I wouldn't say that I could go and coach every single athlete out there. I could definitely give advice to people and try to give specific advice for their specific use cases. But at the same time, something that's worked for me in training, I have to be aware of the fact that like that's not going to be, whether that's physically, go and do this workout. Yeah. This exact workout at this exact time in your training will make you X% better. Very difficult to say that. We make videos saying this is how we got better because people might want to try those workouts, but there is a clear distinction there between it will definitely work versus like it might work, but it needs to fit into your training, how you train. And then there's the mental side of it. Like it's come out when I've tried to pace you, Sarah, I think like.
People offer, I think the more noise there is, the more likely it is that some of that noise won't be applicable to you. But equally, how exciting now that you can find someone who you really closely relate to compared to a really small selection of people. And I think as well, that's what's interesting when you consider, do you find elite athletes inspiring or actually do you find someone who is in the exact same point as you in their running journey who you can kind of improve alongside? So
you've hit the nail on the head there for me a little bit. This is where I think I struggle a little bit with influencers compared to elite level running, because so many times now, if we're talking about Chicago or the big marathons, you'll be talking about what X influencer did and not actually who won the race.
And I think
you'll
that's
know
really
if your
hard.
favourite influencer ran 2:30, you'll be like, oh my gosh, or on sub 3 or sub 4, 4:05. Great, but you might not know actually who won the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
and that's really
I'm
hard
conscious
because
that I think what we do is slightly different. We talk about running. Yeah. That's what we do. And I just look at it sometimes and go, well, I can imagine there are a lot of people who are out there going, well, I would have loved a place there. And there are 100 influencers who got places when it's so hard to get into some of these races already.
Yeah. That is hard. Like if you've watched a social media feed and the marketing job that you're watching is like being inspired to A, run, B, maybe take on a marathon, C, take on that specific marathon, I can understand how that might be frustrating if it's like the same people going to the same marathon every year and you're like, I know, I want to run this, I can't, because you're all there again. But equally, I think there is the like relatability point of some people will love watching elite sport, and I think the elites have it really hard now because as an influencer, yes, you are training, like all of us are training, but it's not our job. We're not being paid to place in a certain way or to get a certain result or make a certain team. Training is very much compensated with what our jobs are, which is to talk about running. Whereas as an elite athlete, I feel like now there's a pressure of, if you're not talking about it online, then people can't follow it as much. So are you as relatable as this person? It's really hard.
That's the big thing for me, is that the reason someone cares about the person that those journeys they followed for the last 2 or 3 years or 6 months, whatever might be on a social media channel, is because they actually have got like an insight into that person's life. Whereas there are a lot of elite athletes, and you can't, every like world major, it's very rare for an athlete to do more than one of those world majors a year at the elite level. And even at the track and field that we're talking about at the World Championships, what the athletes that really resonate with people have done is managed to make a personal connection and show that they have like some personality either in the media or on their own social media channels. And then by definition, that makes you want to root for them and actually care about the results and so on. But if it's just a name on a result sheet with a very, very fast time against it, rightly or wrongly, that makes it much harder to go, oh my goodness, do you see that person who won it? As opposed to going, that person who I feel like I know, who I've seen run in my park, or like who I recognize some of the workouts that they've done, who speaks straight down the lens to me about my experience. That's like a really powerful thing. And then if someone's being gifted a place in that way, and hopefully gets even just 1 or 2 or 3 other people, but I imagine it's a lot more than that, into running through what they're doing. That's
then they're doing a good job.
That's what we're trying to do.
I just worry sometimes. I was at an elite race earlier on this year, and I won't mention which race it was, but I was at the end and I was interviewing people. I was there as a job, just to speak to people who've come in and done well, and people who we were following. And the winner of both the male and the female race, the organisers were shouting, does anyone want to interview these people? And everybody's trying to interview, I don't know, Tommy Fury or someone. As an example. And there's a horde of media people. And I was like, well, I'm going to go and interview the winner of the race. And I just thought, this is the balance for me. I was like, this just seems a little bit too much.
But then you could argue that that's not necessarily their job. Like if their job was to train really hard, go out, win a race, and then you've got your bonus, you've got your, they've done their job. They don't need to be on. That's
what I would have said when I was running. I would have been like, well, I'm being paid to win races or to run fast. I think like not to be a personality, but
then you got the legacy argument of like, what do people want recognition, or do they want accolade, or do they have to have both now? That's quite hard.
Yeah, well, it's going to dictate as a pro athlete, it's going to probably, like, if you're not, I think if you win stuff, like really big stuff, a major marathon, or a Olympic or World Championship medal, then that catapults you into the limelight in a way where all of a sudden you get social media followers, and then it becomes a bit like chicken and egg, and you probably start doing more stuff on social media and so on.
Or you don't have to do very much at all, and people are still like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You've given me piecemeal.
But then if you're an athlete who's on the verge of that, so you might be, I don't know, top 10 or top 15 at a major marathon, you might be trying to get into the final at the World Champs or the Olympics, then the difference between you and someone else getting a kit contract from a shoe manufacturer, which is how athletes make a living, is going to be probably based on profile. So if you've got 2 people on paper and you're a running brand, and they're both the same, they've both made the semi-finals, they both run the same time, and one has 100,000 Instagram followers and one doesn't really use social media, then like that's probably, where you're going to go. It's probably an easy choice for the brand.
And hey, the running boom is great. It's given us 3 jobs.
It has, and it's had a
given me and Andy one and you half.
I mean, it's got loads more people involved in running, which is what we're about at the Running Channel. And it's evened up the playing field. So I think in 2024 it was the growth in runners in England in particular was entirely fueled by women, or not entirely, but mainly fueled by women. So for the first time in the London Marathon ballot, the male-female split is almost exactly 50-50.
Yeah, which is really cool. And that was a super interesting conversation. So if you have any thoughts on the running boom, please email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. If there's anything else you want us to talk about, let us know. But now, should we cover some very exciting news?
I don't think I've ever been so excited about the news on the podcast as today.
It felt like it came out of nowhere, but I was just scrolling my social media feed, and Femke, famous 400 meter runner, 400 meter hurdler, has made an announcement which I haven't seen before, a kind of mid-career announcement that she will be swapping and stepping up to the 800 meters as a new challenge.
Yeah, this is nuts. What's interesting to me, one, it's really exciting that both of you are excited about elite track and field.
Look at us go. We're so in the loop.
So
I said it into the podcast WhatsApp group, like, guys, look at this.
I couldn't believe it.
So Femke Bol runs incredible 400 meter flat relay legs and has always done the 400 meter hurdles. She won the World Championships in Tokyo whilst we're out there. So maybe she's thinking a bit like Sydney McLaughlin Levrone, who won the 400 meter hurdles at the Olympics and then decided to do the 400 meters flat this year. That's a bit more, not common's not the right word, but like you can kind of see that. This one is a big step and it'd be really interesting. But people do talk about, you've got the flat speed for the 400 clearly.
Yeah.
And then the extra strength endurance that you need to hurdle at the same time makes you a different kind of athlete to a 400 meter flat athlete. So that a lot of people in mind when I was running always tried to persuade some of the 400 guys or 400 meter hurdlers to step up to the 800 for exactly this reason. And no one ever did it.
Which is what she said she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Keely Hutchinson has allegedly welcomed it.
Has she?
Well,
that's what you've got to say, isn't
so
it?
her welcoming it was her commenting on this post saying excited to share the start.
Oh, and then that's what the news story is.
And that's what all the news headlines are. Would you be excited or would you be a little bit irk?
She was writing going, well done, welcome.
Really excited to share the story with you.
I imagine if I was in, it's hard to put myself in Keely Hodgkinson's position as like a world beater and all that sort of stuff, but I think she'll be thinking, well, like I'm not that worried until you post an 800.
Fair.
Like she's probably thinking, oh, that person, like in theory, could be amazing at this, but there's absolutely zero evidence to show that they can be. And
that is why she's an elite athlete, because if it was me, terrified, I'd be like, I'm out. That's it. My career.
Well, if you think you're the best in the world, you've got to think you're the best in the world.
That is true.
And therefore, like, it doesn't matter who lines up.
And she is best in the world. And also, I think we might be starting to have, which is very exciting, what we have in the 1500 meter men's.
Yeah.
Every single time that race happens.
In the 800
meter women's, which is, for female sport, love it.
Well, it's shaping up to be a prestige event, isn't it? Georgia Bell obviously went down from 1500 to 800 meters for the world champs in Tokyo this year. And then you've got Femke Bol, who's going from 400 to 800, already in a packed field already. And at the moment, you don't really know who's going to win because there was a shock in Tokyo.
Yeah, and how do you, if you're used to sprinting for 50 odd seconds and jumping over stuff, how do you... I'm not to belittle your achievement.
Oop, a hat. Oop, banana peel.
Andy, do you remember how high those hurdles were?
They're really high.
Yeah, they are.
I jumped over one, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Don't know if that video's out
Very
yet.
impressive.
Thank you.
How do you run it? So if you're so she will be the fastest flat 400 meter runner in that field. Like the Femke Bol when she goes up against any of the 800 meter runners.
Oh yeah, so do you go all out, hold on?
Or do you just chill and then sprint at the end?
Yeah, because no one will want to let her sprint, will they?
Fewer people do it now, but in the men's race in particular, in the last 20 years, there's been a handful of people. I can think of Borzakowski, who was an Olympic champ. Nick Simmons used to do it. A couple of other guys and Kelly Holmes actually used to do it for Great Britain, where these people would be dead last at the bell or very close to last. And they would try and run as close to even splits as possible, as opposed to often what happens is the people who are leading, they might run for the women, say like a 55, 56 first lap and then a 59, 60 second lap.
Right.
So if you do run perfectly evenly, you could be towards the back at the end at the bell and then just by maintaining your pace, just go past everybody in the second lap.
She will win lots of medals.
Oh, it's going to be exciting.
And Keely Hodgkinson actually was commenting off the back of also having just been crowned the champion of the Athlos event, which is a female-only event in New York. And this was the second year that's run this year. So that's really exciting.
Very, very cool.
I can't believe they're still competing in October, though. It's nuts.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, those events came up on my feed and I was like, really? They just did the World Champs?
For Keely, she's been injured, so it's probably easier to keep going all the way through to October because she missed so much. But then for someone like Faith Kipyegon, who's been going on all year, like that's nuts that she's still running.
And I'm pleased to say we've got a really exciting track question this week as well.
Right,
sorry,
go on then.
You're going to hear more from me again, doesn't it?
Richard Fisher from London. I just stumbled on this mathematician talking about how the slightly different shape of the track at Paris 24 may have affected the athletes. Apparently, to account for the rugby feel, the straights were slightly shorter and the bends slightly longer than usual, which may have created challenges for athletes like Josh Kerr. I didn't know this. Have you seen the video?
I have seen this video where the point that's made is exactly that, so that the rugby pitch is wider than, I think the logic here, the rugby pitch is wider than would normally have the infield of a track.
Right.
And to accommodate that, they needed a bend with larger radiuses, which makes the bend overall longer but slightly less tight. And that, by definition, then makes the straight shorter because it still has to be 400 metres.
So, I mean, the question here is essentially who's it going to help? Where does the advantage come? But there are so many pitches that have a rugby pitch in the middle that then have an athletic track around them. So I don't understand why Paris 2024 was any different.
Do you think the athletes would have known about this beforehand as well?
Every track, I think that the point that this video made was like, Cole Hocker, like, would he have had the same amount of energy to pass Josh Kerr at the end of the 1500 meters if they'd been on in inverted commas standard track? And this Instagram account is designed to try and just ask interesting mathematical questions about like the real world.
I bet you love it.
I mean, it's right up my street. Although this is the worst explanation of anything I've ever seen, I think. So I'm going to try not to butcher it myself. But the point is, almost every single athletics track is different. So the track we grew up on the Wirral, Rick, the Bebington Oval,
yes,
which interesting enough is where they filmed, I say interesting, Sarah will be the definition of this.
Chariots of Fire.
They filmed Chariots of Fire there, yeah.
And they also have a ski slope. Do they have a ski slope?
They do have a dry ski slope there as well.
Yeah.
That bit's less interesting.
Yeah.
Sarah actually literally yawned as I said that.
Hey, Gen Z, back in the room.
Sorry, my uncle played the organ for Chariots of Fire.
But the Bebington Oval has really long straights and very tight bends. So I used to notice it when I'd go back and I'd do my warm-up sessions there like 2 or 3 days before our like national trials were often in Manchester.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh God, these bends are tight. Same in America, high school tracks, they have to fit in a standard American football gridiron field.
In the middle. And
that's quite long. And so the straights are really long on US tracks and the bends are really tight and the tracks are narrower because of that. So yeah, it has quite a big impact on how you run and which events are likely to be faster there. Okay,
so in this instance, the suggestion is that it would have helped in the 1500 metres for Cole Hocker to win in Paris last year because he had to run a slightly different bend to what he was used to.
Yeah, they were using arguments of centripetal force, so the force that's acting on you when you're trying to go around a corner, effectively. Sorry, you've laughed. Sarah's like, no, don't go any further.
Has that got something to do with your diaphragm?
I looked at Rick and he says...
It's very serious. The journalistic
He was literally looking like someone had said, like, I'm about to repossess your house. Here's how this is going to work.
I can explain how that works.
Well, you have to use some of your force to go round the corner, which by definition slows you down. So the tighter the corner is, the more it slows you down, the more energy you have to use. So it's a weird argument that they used here because Josh Kerr and Cole Hocker had to run the same bend on the same track at the same time. So,
are they both 1500? None of either of them done other distances? I thought they were both just like 1500. That's my thing.
They are well. Josh Kerr ran the 5,000 meters at the British trials.
Cole Hocker
also
5,000.
Didn't he win the 5,000 meters in Tokyo?
Yeah, he won it.
Then I don't. Yeah, then that's quite a hard argument.
Well, the argument was just that if they'd had exactly the same race and the same tactics on a different track, then Cole Hocker would have used up more energy around the final bend and therefore might not have been able to pass Josh Kerr. Personally, I think this is a fairly nonsense argument because obviously Josh Kerr would have used up more energy or less energy. Like, yeah, I don't know. But it was a gentler bend which made it easier to sprint around it.
Biggest takeaway is that track sizes are surprisingly different.
Well, the sizes, still 400 metres in lane one. They're all 400 metres in lane one. They're just the geometry of them. They could be wider, fatter, shorter.
Does that mean that then the difference between lane one and lane two would change? Or specifically on the corner?
That's a great question.
Thank you. Maths.
You'd still all be running everyone would be running 400 metres.
It might mean that I'd have to do some maths, but I think I think it would, because if there are, it would change where the lines for the stagger are for sure, because they'd be in a slightly different spot. And just as you can again judge if it's interesting, Pennsylvania University in America has a really unique track where they built the track. The stands of the stadium are like really tight to the outside lane.
Yeah.
But then they became so popular, the Penn Relays is a massive event there. So they built lanes inside lane one. So they have lanes that are shorter than 400 meters to accommodate enough lanes for all of the massive relay events that they run there. And so if you're running like the 400 4x4 relay, after the first lap, you have to, if you're in the inside lanes, you'd have to kind of wiggle your way out into what becomes lane one, but is actually about lane four.
I mean, that's blown my mind. Okay.
That's not difficult.
Well, that was a really good question. I feel like I've got a lot to take in.
That was a lot. My brain hurts a little bit. We packed in a lot there. We'll see you next week, I guess.
Wow.
Rick's beside himself. Yeah, we're back onto a normal scheduling now.
Yeah.
So we did the special 3 50-minute episodes last week. Now we should be back onto a regular Saturday morning podcast. And we'd like you to share this with as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And hit the follow button on whatever podcast app that you use.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who voted for us for the British Podcast Awards. We turned out to be in the top 6 podcasts on listener choice in the UK, which is amazing.
Yeah, which is all down to you guys for voting again and again and again.
Yeah, I think they messed us. They made our lives more difficult because whilst they're out in Tokyo, they changed the rules on us.
Yeah.
And they allowed everybody to vote a second time just on the top 5 or 6.
So really, I think we did win.
Yeah, we won.
Yeah, let's claim
Yeah.
it.
So let's claim it.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
for making us win the Listener's Choice Award.
And we dedicate that to you.
A little bit of fake news.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.